Hello, this is Mark Tucker. In this video, we're going to show how to use Flowise, which is a tool that allows you to graphically piece together workflows that include AI chat agents and Gravatar. Now, Gravatar has been around for many years, and it allows you to keep a profile, a public profile that you want other people to see about you, but it's keyed off of your email address. So this came about by an article that I saw that talked about how you could use Gravatar to create um, use this new AI identity tool to grab some markdown about your profile, and then you could share that in ChatGPT or other things. But embedded in that article was a section about for developers. Now, the way that Gravatar works is that it works off of a hash of your email address. It's a SHA-256 hash of that email address. And so if you were to go to gravatar.com with that hash of your email and then have the suffix on the end be .md, then it will actually come back with a markdown that shows all the information about your profile. So I thought, well, what can we do to put that together? So here inside of Flowise, I've got a project for Gravatar personalization. Typically, a very easy first thing that you would do for a chat agent is you would have a start node, and then you'd have your chat node. And the start node happens every time that you type into a chat window. Any command goes through this workflow from start to the end. And um, so that's what we've done inside of here is to first check to see if there's an email address that's been saved. If it hasn't, then we parse that out of the text that the user typed if it exists. If the email exists, then it's going to make the call to that Gravatar endpoint to grab the markdown and embed that into the message that's going to be included. Once the email address has been saved, because there are some flow state variables that we can set that last and actually can persist across conversation turns, then that's what we're working at. So let's go through this first to kind of see what it's like. I've given it a prompt, an initial prompt setting up here in configuration that says enter your email to use Gravatar. So I'm just going to say, hello, what is my name? So right now, um, it's checking and it says, oh, I don't seem to have your name. Because what's happened is it's gone through and I don't have an email. I didn't type an email address in here. So this parse came back empty, so it didn't have a Gravatar, so it's just answering based on whatever the question was that I typed in, which was, what is my name? So if I say mark at shazaml.com, so that's my email address. Now it's going to go through and parsing that, getting the information. It says, hello, Mark. It's great to see you. How can I help you? And I can say, what are my interests? And it's going to go through. It's not going this path again because it's already had the email. It already has my profile. And it says your interests include coding, technology, mentoring, stained glass. So what that shows is that before it didn't have the context and of what my markdown was, and after it did. So if we can go back here, the first time we went through, we can check that there were two state variables. One is the Gravatar MD, that markdown, and the other one is your email. Nothing's been said on this. And if we go all the way back down here, so this will do like the whole chat history. So this tells you you're a friendly chat bot. This is what the user typed in. There was no email that got returned by the email parser. And so in the end, there's nothing here. So it's just going to output based on what the user typed in there. If we go down to this one, Let's just do this one and go to this one. Notice now that it says when you ask questions, use this context profile. So this is the Gravatar markdown that got put in based on that call. And so now when it asks questions, it saves that markdown in the Gravatar um, empty state variable and my email in that email. So let's go through the code just a little bit on how to set this up. So in the start flow, I've specified two values that I want to keep track of, Gravatar MD and email, and I also set persistent state so that multiple turns in the chat will keep these same variables um, set. This is just a check to see if the flow state variable that I just set up in the previous step, if it's empty, then it takes one condition branch and then there's the else condition always. So this is the case where there is no email set, and then this is the else case, which means that their email has been set. So I set up an LLM, and this is just to do some simple parsing. It just says you are a string parser to extract email addresses from the text. And then the question, the value that's in this question variable is what the user typed into the chat window. So just passing that information, and we're going to say that it's a structured output that we're looking for. We're looking for an email address that's a string. And so it's going to try to force that into a specific format. And then at the end of the step, we're saying update the flow state, set the email to whatever value is in this output.email address that we set up in the structured output. So that could be empty or it could be an email address, depends on if the email address is in what the user typed in. So here's the Gravatar part. So it's going to use crypto because it needs to do a SHA-256 hash, and it's also doing node fetch to do a get against this endpoint. So basically, we grab the flow state variable for email, see if it's there. We follow Gravatar good practices where we trim and lowercase the email address, and we check to see if there is no email address, there is no reason to make the call to Gravatar. So we're just going to return an empty string, which means that the output of the step is that there is no markdown. It's just an empty value. But if we then want to get that email hash, also known as the profile ID, then we use the hash, we update it, convert it to hex, and then we make this call to that Gravatar with the .md using that hash and make a call. And we either get back the text, which is that markdown, or if there's some sort of an error, we just return back gracefully with an empty string. So that is what's happening in that step. And then inside of this chat agent, we have a system message which says you are a friendly chatbot, greet the user by name, and this is where it's grabbing that Gravatar MD file and splatting it right there into the content. And then it also has in the input message the question that the user asked. And in this case, we are enabling memory so that we do get a history of what the user typed in. So there's a little bit of a chat memory going on with that. So that is what we have to set up this for accessing Gravatar inside. I do want to just say one thing which I thought was going to work for me, which was kind of interesting, is there is a configuration where you can set here for leads that you want to make sure that you prompt them for an email address. So when you start this flow for the first time, then it's going to give them a screen where they enter the email address. I was hopeful I was just going to be able to take that email address and access it via a variable inside of Flowise. Doesn't look like that's possible, at least not from what I was able to see. But then that would have that could have helped us like require an email address be sent, not required this parser at all, and then we could have just set the markdown. But hopefully you found this interesting and helpful, and look forward to more ideas on how to incorporate Gravatar into my bots. Thank you.